Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact, where business insight meets startup innovation. And now, please give a warm welcome to your host, Brian Sparks!
Yes, you all can get into it. Welcome to Silicon Valley Impact. I'm your host, Brian Sparks.
I gave it a little extra today, Brian, because you gave me the build up before, right? Like you put the bar way up here, and I gave it a little extra to try and match that bar.
And you did. You exceeded it. I love it.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
I love it, man. I love it when you do that. The purpose of this show is to have honest conversations about what it takes to build great businesses and communities so that you can make an impact within your own. Today, we have a great show. We have Wendy and Santosh in the house. Good to see you guys. Welcome in. Brian, you're going to be amazed today about the project that these two are working on. Our audience is going to love it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. So,
well, you know, not as a little teaser, we already had a pre-show conversation about Nepal. I'm a huge fan. I was there a long time ago. Love the country, the people, and the history is fascinating. Even in our lifetimes, the history of that country is fascinating.
Yeah. So we're going to get some insights from Wendy and Santosh. So I want to welcome you two into our show.
Thank you.
I definitely want to engage with our audience as quick as possible. So Wendy, we've been buddies for a while, so tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you're working on.
Sure. So I am founder of Building Education. We're a nonprofit organization that serves to build safe schools in Nepal currently. We would love to expand outside of Nepal eventually, but right now we're currently in Nepal. And my story is about turning tragedy to purpose. So I like to believe that this organization started because it is my true calling in life. And what happened is I lost my mother at a very young age, and I was 8 years old. So I then kind of like needed more guidance in the world, and I went towards education. So I saw firsthand how education made a significant impact in my own life. And that was basically the founding of Building Education, because I wanted to be able to share that with other kids who also needed this type of impact.
And you are making an impact, and you're throwing great events to raise awareness, to raise money. Santosh has been a big part of this journey. We're going to come back and double click on a lot of these things that you're doing, your journey. But Santosh, I want to bring you into this conversation because we're going to kick around this topic of what you're doing in Nepal. But before we do that, let's get a quick introduction from you to our audience.
Hi, I'm Santosh. I'm based in Nepal. I'm the project executive of Building Education. At the same time, I'm also an entrepreneur. It's been 8 years that I'm in entrepreneurship. I run multiple startups in Kathmandu, Nepal. So the first one that I started was in 2016. I started up in e-commerce for gifts and experiences that Nepal, anyone, the diaspora community could book for their friends and family back home, because almost 25% of Nepalese live abroad. So there's a huge emotional gap, and then we wanted to connect that gap through gifting platform that we created in 2016. So later that grew and became one of the best startup in the entire Kathmandu in Nepal, and we were even listed as Forbes 30 and the 30 Asia's list in 2022. And I also created my second startup that was Oho Cake. It's a cloud kitchen for bakery and cakes. So mostly celebration cakes. It's we deliver to doorsteps. That's what we do. And I've been helping Building Education. I joined the team in last year. So I and Wendy met in 2019 actually through one of our common friend. And that's when I figured out about Building Education, what Wendy is doing in Nepal. And I was following her journey for a couple of years. And last year I joined the team, and now we're building schools in rural Nepal.
Okay, so Brian, I feel like with these two, there's no bottom. Like, you're going to discover what they're doing now is really interesting and impactful. Then you're going to see that they're entrepreneurs. They have huge followings. Wendy, you were Miss Nepal.
Yes, back in 2021. So Prior to that, I lived abroad for about 6 years. So I traveled across Asia, Europe, and Africa. And it was just a little bit of soul searching. So that was what basically got me involved in social impact work. I started volunteering in different countries. I taught English in Thailand. I volunteered at a girls' orphanage in India. And that's what led me to the founding of Building Education. So when I moved back here in 2020, right at the brink of COVID, I realized that I wanted to scale Building Education. We had just finished our first village, finished building our first school, finished with the roads, the water systems, the energy. And we realized like we wanted to scale this to other communities and villages all over Nepal.
So let me get this straight. So 2020, you completed your first project. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, so between 2012 and 2020, in your journey and soul searching, there came this moment where you seen that there was this need in Nepal to create and provide access and education.
I'm going to amend that just a little bit. I'm going to guess if you were out traveling on the continents and through the countries that you said for 6 years, you've seen this need not only in Nepal, but everywhere around the entire world.
All across the board.
Yep.
All across the board. And what I saw was that education was the ultimate solution to ending global poverty.
And your passion, like you were just saying a minute ago, when your mom got sick, like your education passion took off.
Right. It was an extra, like, it was the mentor that I needed in life that guided me towards the right path. So I saw the impact that education made in my life. And to be honest, I went through my own struggles of being a little bit of a rebel and nearly dropping out of school and then recommitting myself to school, studying aviation, learning to fly planes, essentially being a jet engine specialist and seeing how it empowered me. That made me more passionate about being able to provide this opportunity to people all over the world. And it wasn't until I started traveling that I realized that this actually isn't even accessible to everyone, right? In some cases, learning how to read and write is just for the elite, in many cases, especially developing countries. And I think in Nepal, back in the 1970s, 1950s, that's especially so. Starting a nonprofit wasn't necessarily what I had in mind. It was something that just naturally came to fruition. I saw a need. People asked me to help them. I told them no. But then after a while, I thought, okay, like maybe I can help with the first step. Maybe it's just building the wall in the school. Maybe then it's building the entire school. And so I just kept taking that next right step that led to the founding of the organization.
What was that moment where you said, no, I'm in? Was there that tipping point where you said, I can do this. I need to do this. What was that experience that you had in Nepal and then later alone that you kind of connected the dots? Like, I need to commit to this.
Oh gosh. So I think it's multiple steps, to be honest, because prior to actually leaving the country, I was a jet engine specialist. I worked in the aviation industry. I worked in the city of industry. I thought that my life was set. So I started taking some self-development programs and I realized I was searching for more purpose and passion. And so I was like, okay, I've never left the country before. Let me travel to India and volunteer for 2 weeks during my birthday, right? My 28th birthday at the time. And I had just hit a huge goal within my company. Like, I brought in 5 million for the company selling jet engines essentially. And then I went to India and it just changed the way that I saw myself in the world, essentially. Like I saw these girls who had suffered through so much more than I did, like beyond losing a mother or losing their parents, but had suffered through living, being in, human trafficking and being orphans at a very young age at 4, living in the streets. And I saw how education gave them this new chance to life. So when I first arrived at the orphanage, like these girls, they were disciplined, they were educated, they could speak English to me. And I realized all of that came from education. So it made me very passionate about wanting to continue supporting their efforts in creating a new life for themselves. And then when I came back, I started fundraising. And I'm naturally pretty good at sales. So what was fulfilling for me was actually putting in sales and bringing in money for the right reasons, right? I knew that I could fundraise. I knew that I can do sales. I knew that I can bring in a lot of money for a company. But jet engine sales wasn't fulfilling for me. And actually being able to do it to make an impact was so gratifying, you know? And so that essentially was my point where I was like, okay, I need to be doing something different.
So there was a little bit of there was a little moment of contrast where there was this validation where like, I don't think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And then there's this need over here that really had this awakening within you, and that was the moment. But it was a series of events that kind of brought these both to a boil.
Yeah, all of it was a series of events, and it was like a matter of making these extreme decisions when I hit a fork in the road. I think that's like a lot of my life. A lot of my life is like, you know, I'm going this path, and then I hit a fork in the road, and it's like you have to make the right decision, and they're two extreme decisions. And so I feel like I've always just made the right decisions that are 100% aligned with my values, which has brought me to where I am today.
I love it. And so 2020, you completed your first project. Santosh, you came on, what was it, last year?
Last year, yeah.
And last year. And so between 2020 and when you came on last year, 2023, how much had you accomplished? And then we want to bring Santosh in the question. What was the momentum that he brought? And now this thing is really taking off. You've got this gala that, depending on when this airs, is either, it's really soon. And you've got a lot of momentum going. So 2020 to 2023, and then the momentum that brought in Santosh.
Honestly, we are so lucky and blessed to have Santosh and Divyesh, because I see the impact and how fast we've been able to scale and actually move forward with the projects right after they came on. So 2020, we had finished our first school, or first village, and then I already had 2 other schools that were asking for support.
Now, when you say first village, that's school, that's, what is it, infrastructure? What else went into school when you say school?
So the model essentially is school, water systems that provided water to over 100 homes, energy, like electricity in the area, and then roads. And then, so that was basically like, okay, these are the solutions that we, like basic infrastructure, right? Basic necessities that we can then scale into other villages of Nepal. So then by that time I had already identified the second and third school we wanted to work on. And we, you know, that was very simple. We just found partners in the ground and then we fundraised for it, but it wasn't nearly the impact that we needed. And then because we had like a younger team in 2022 that wasn't quite experienced, we actually didn't build anything in 2022. So when I look back at my numbers in that year, like we struggled a lot. It was me trying to train them and trying to have them execute the work. They just didn't have the work experience. They were like still in university. And then Santosh and I had met in 2019. He was working on his startup, which was doing so well then. Like he was featured on National Geographic. So I was watching him grow, you know, as an entrepreneur and build his presence in Nepal. And I'm sure like he was watching, you know, Wendy and Building Education continuously return to Nepal and do the work. So 2023 came.
23.
Yeah. And Divyesh and Santosh came on and like the projects they just took off. Like now we're in our 6th and 7th village. And I'm like, thank God, because
wow.
Yeah.
And I'm just not going to let that blow by. You were in National Geographic with the business that you were building. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that and then the transition, or when you're building businesses, where did you find the space to now embark on this project with Wendy and continue to be a success? I mean, there's a lot there. I'm just so fascinated by the way that you've managed this, but talk a little bit about that business and then the transition into your partnership with Wendy.
So before business, I was mostly, when I was in high school, I was very introverted and I wanted to grow myself. So I was trying to find platform where I can grow, but I couldn't actually find platform in Kathmandu. So I thought of creating myself one. So we created a NGO. I created an NGO along with my friends at the age of 16. So that's something that I started. And then I was in a nonprofit organizing events for young people. That was what I was doing before I started my business. And during my undergrad second year, I met amazing co-founders, and thought of starting an e-commerce platform for gifts and experiences. So that was, it's named Offering Happiness.
So gifts and experiences. Gifts like, give me an example of gifts.
For the gifts, mostly experiences as gifts. That's how it started. For example, you could book a dinner date at the base camp of Mount Everest, or celebrate your birthdays at one of the highest altitude lake.
Yeah.
So, or any exclusive experiences that are available in Nepal. So we curate these experiences along with local businesses and sell it online.
All right, Brian, there's our next show. We're booking the experience through Santosh.
My birthday is in a few weeks. I'm figuring base camp of Everest on November 30th.
Silicon Valley Impact. Okay,
right,
go ahead.
Santosh, you can put that together. I know it's not a lot of lead time.
Definitely. Okay. So that's the idea that we started with in 2016. I was the first generation entrepreneur. I'd never done business before, so there was so much of highs and lows, ups and downs. So started learning the business and startup world, and the business world and startup scene in Nepal is not that flourished. I mean, not like here in Silicon Valley, but we are definitely learning from the internet and then growing our business. In 2018, I got an opportunity to compete in one of the competition. It was Global Student Entrepreneurs Award. So around the world, like every country has this award. And then I competed for Nepal's award. Then I won for the Nepal's. And then I got to represent Nepal in the World Cup of student entrepreneurs.
Nice.
So 53 different entrepreneurs from all around the world. We competed in Macau, China. That's when National Geography, the filmmakers, they reached out to me saying that your story about how people are living Nepal for the better opportunity, but you are staying in Nepal, creating jobs, building business, and also solving the problem that there's an emotional gap for the people who are living the country. You connecting those people. So this is a beautiful business, and we're really inspired by your business model. So we want to feature you in one of the movie. So there's a movie named Own the Room. It's in
Own the Room.
Own the Room. It's in Disney Plus. So yeah,
I'm on it. I'm watching that today.
So that's me in 2019. That's
a true story, or
it's a true story.
Played you?
True story.
True story. So you're there on Disney Plus. Own the Room.
Yeah. So they followed me for a week in Nepal and also in Macau. So it's about how a small entrepreneur, an entrepreneur from Kathmandu, travel all around the world just to raise funds and grow its business.
See, I think this is what's so fascinating about entrepreneurs. You're in Nepal, where there's what you self-described as little resource in contrast to Silicon Valley, what we have here in America, but you took it upon yourself to solve this problem. You essentially went around the world. I mean, you won this award, were recognized, a documentary was made, and yet you stayed and continue to contribute to the economic development of your country. I find that extremely fascinating, considering the barriers that are self-put on people for what they can do. You just blew my mind. Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
I want to add something to that. Like, the reason why I find it spectacular is, like, first off, like, Santosh is so talented, right? Like, he's a high performer. He's extremely intelligent, educated. Like, he's, if you ask him to do something, he's going to get it done. Like, I know that I can always rely on Santosh. So what you see in Nepal is like 30% of the population actually go abroad to find jobs. So there's a lot of out-migration in the country. I mean, who wouldn't want Santosh to work for them, right? Any company, especially in Silicon Valley, would want Santosh to work for their tech company, or, build out operations or whatever it is that they need. But he still chose to dedicate himself to his country and stay in the country. I mean, I know that he has other future goals and plans as well. And like these are the types of people that I really value, part of the organization, that stay aligned with their values, that want to support the communities that they came from. whether it mean globally or, more locally. But, he's so talented, right? He can do anything that he wants to do, but he chooses to continue to support his country.
So do you still have those companies, or did you sell them?
I still have them.
You still run them. So on top of running this, and so you're doing great. You're traveling the world. You're coming back home, contributing to the development. Fast forward, you've known Wendy since 2019. You start talking about coming on board. What was that conversation like? Who brought it to the other? What was happening?
I think it was a very interesting, just a coffee meetup that we sat for during the day when she was in Nepal. She was a little frustrated with the Nepal operations back then.
2022, you said that.
And then, so I wanted to, so she asked, I came on board to help her for a while, and then joined the team from then. So it was like, I think there was other person involved as well, the Divesh. So he and I worked together from very long time in Nepal. So he knew that I could be the right person to help in Nepal. And then in the beginning, it was just like I thought like I'm going to help for some period of time, and then I'll once the operation is set, then I'll go back. But something changed. So what changed was the fourth school that Wendy has already selected, and we had to rebuild that school, but it's not kicking off. And
there was like a sticking point.
Yeah.
So bookmark that really quick, because I want to ask something for the audience who may be listening. So you have Wendy, kind of the founder. You're working on this project. You hit a sticking point. You're frustrated. You come in at that sticking point. There's this conversation. First, I want to know from you, Wendy, and then Santosh, I want to know from you, how do you get beyond those sticking points? Because there's entrepreneurs, whether you're doing a noble project like you're doing, or you're launching an AI company. What was that insight like for you, and that humbling point, like, hey, I need help? And then when you receive that help, how do you go, okay, here's what I can do? What was that like?
I have never been afraid to ask for help, especially if I need it. And so I always voice like I need help. And for me, I think I'm a problem solver. I think Santosh is the same way. So if something's not working, then let's figure out how to make this work. It's no different from developing a slum village or a rural village, right? Like you look at this place, you see that people are dying, you see that people are uneducated, you see that they're suffering from poverty. So it's like, well, what kind of resources do they need? What do we need to plug into this area to make it function better, right? So naturally, I'm a problem solver. I think that's like part of the engine. I don't really have a big engineering mind, but I did study aviation. So like that's like part of my engineering mind. That's like, I want to solve, I want to fix, I want to make things work efficiently.
But you went outside yourself, right? There was this humbling moment, like I need to bring someone in I trust and share this.
I get really lucky. I talk to a lot of people. I know a lot of people. I think that my heart and my values and are in the right place, and I have the right intentions, and people can see that. Like I honestly just love what I do, and I want to make an impact and help people. So I also make a lot of friends, and I'm never shy about like voicing that we need help, or it's no different from me coming to you and saying, hey, Brian, like I would love to be on your podcast. I love what you're doing. Right. Like, so I'm just.
That's a soundbite, Brian, going forward, by the way.
I got it. It's been locked down.
Should I? Okay.
Yeah, we got it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's no different from doing that, honestly, like I was like, so I couldn't have imagined how lucky we would get with Santosh, to be honest, because I always admired Santosh for what he was doing already since the time that I met him. And then it's just like beyond best case scenario, like beyond my wildest dreams, we could have someone as talented as Santosh and Divesh join the team and be able to really take this organization forward. And the reality of it is like, it's not so easy that you can just come into a country and then put money here and then everybody's going to want to listen and do all these things. And they're like, yeah, now we're going to go to school, right? Like, it doesn't work like that. Like when you go into a country, you need to build trust. You really need to understand what the needs of a community are. You need to have the right network, the right connections for us to actually make an impact and sustain the work that we've been doing. And Santosh has already built that trust with his community.
It really is
Nepal.
all about relationships, right?
It's all about relationships.
Yeah. And so you're having this coffee conversation. Santosh, you're hearing her vulnerability, her willingness to ask, the sticking point. What were some of the thoughts going through your head?
I mean, I could see how can I solve that problem. I could already find what was the problem there. So, and I mean, I understand my community. I can understand how education works in Nepal, how schools work in Nepal, how government works in Nepal. So, I knew where exactly the problem should be. I guessed the problem. So I thought I'll give a try. And that's when I kind of started helping her with her future plans for, I think, a week, or she was there for 1 or 2 more weeks. Then I planned those trips for her in Nepal. And then the project got stuck because I was not the one who selected the project. I was not the one who did everything before. So, but the project got stuck for a very long time. And then I traveled to the school. I had to travel to the school. It's just 100 kilometers away from Kathmandu, the capital city. And I was not expecting it to be that rural. When I said that rural, I had to walk for 3 hours just to reach to that, at the top of the hill, to reach to the school. And I had a huge respect to Wendy and the entire team that they selected that school. And there wasn't a road to that school. So we had to build roads just to build that school. So it was really amazing when I reached at the top of the school, at the top of the hill, and then talked with a few of the kids there. I changed. I kind of felt this is the purpose. I mean, this is why I joined building education. And from then, I think I started giving my 100% more and more every time.
Yeah, so this was 2022-ish. You're having these experiences. 2023, you come on officially, and things really just took off. And you completed a few more schools. How are you able to get such a great response from your community, your partnerships, in order to, you really kind of 10x the experience, right? You went from one school to a sticking point to now you're on your, what school right now?
6th and 7th.
6th and 7th school. I think that's amazing. Clearly, Santosh is one of the biggest difference makers. What were some of the other motions that helped scale this so quickly?
That's a good question. Persistence, I think. Honestly, our team's really strong, right? Every single one of us are very high performers. Santosh is a high performer. Mm-hmm. You know, he has other responsibilities and roles, leadership roles that he takes on in Nepal. But I still feel like he's such a high performer and leader in the organization. So also with our social media, we have Ariana, and she's very talented with that. But it's just really finding the right people in the organization that believe in the mission and are high performers and want to get things done. Mm-hmm. So I would say that. And then also when it comes to fundraising is finding the right people who really care about the mission and really want to take it forward and take ownership and believe in the cause. So it's all relationships. It's all people. Like, it takes definitely knowledge and experience to get here as well. But ultimately, I always say it's like the community and the team that built this organization. I'm just kind of this vehicle that is the channel for it.
But again, I'm hearing three things. One is your passion. You've got, in order to do something of this magnitude, you got to have a passion. And when you had those 2 boiling points where you were like, okay, I'm out of here. This isn't really working for me. What you were previously doing, selling, it's great, probably paid the bills, but yet there was not that fulfilling feeling. You had the experience where it's like, ooh, I think I could do something over here. And then you said, so passion 1, then you said relationships, right? Leaning on an individual, and then from there scaling a team. And I can't tell you how many times that I've seen founders not put emphasis on the personhood, the relationship within a team. It's just like, oh, they've been here, they're smart. But what I'm hearing, and you're bringing Santosh in, there's this character quality. I mean, Santosh, I mean, you vibrate this humble presence about you, and the fact that Wendy's saying that you're a high performer. Those things are rare when they're together, right? And you found that in Santosh. And so now you're on your sixth and seventh. What goes into getting these things completed? I mean, you did so many so quickly, but what actually goes into getting this done?
I think I can share what it takes on my end, and then Santos can probably touch in on, the Nepal side. But, we always do everything in collaborations and partnerships, right? So part of what we do is we partner with the municipality, so the local government on the ground, and then we also find a local partner on the ground. So it's a three-way partnership. And I'll give you an example. Like for the fourth school, our agreement was that we would build the school and then the government would build the roads that led up to the school. We did the water system and then the government did the electricity. So the other part that comes in is a local partner who figures out the logistics, right? So they'll be the ones that transport all of the materials. They'll send us, like maybe we'll send an engineer on the ground, but then they will then create the construction plan and the architectural design, and then we will go over it and then we'll like check everything off, right? Mm-hmm. And then on our side in the US, we do a lot of the fundraising and the marketing for the schools, and share about specifically where the money is going, what the team is like, what are the challenges that we're coming across. But I'm pretty transparent. I want our donors to know exactly what's going on with the money and when we hit challenges and what else we need, what other resources we need to keep this going. So that's on the US side of things from what I understand. The beneficiary communities also support. Usually it's either our side or our team or the partners that then get the parents of the kids to help to build the schools, right? Or do the construction part of it. I know that the Nepal side is a lot more complicated than that. So I think Santos can fill in on those.
So what we'll
challenges.
do is that we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, Santos, I want you to tap in on that. Like what does it take on your side to get this very noble project moving? And we'll unpack that when we come back. Brian.
Before we go to break, Brian, I just want to play a little bit of a clip from the trailer for Own the Room. You okay with that? Hold on, here it comes.
I believe that we were all brought into this universe for a purpose. You exist for a very definite reason. If opportunity won't knock in your door.
And there's Santos.
Welcome to the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards.
It looks like an exciting film. I think everybody should tune in and watch it.
I'm already jazzed, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah,
all right, now
good.
we're going to break, Brian.
And we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and we're going to continue the conversation with Wendy and Santos about their great passion. It's more than a passion product. I almost played it down. Building schools in Nepal. But Santos, I want to throw the mic back to you. We were talking about what goes into this, and Wendy was unpacking that. But from your perspective and having boots on the ground in Nepal, what has gone into this in order to go so smoothly the last couple of years? Well, maybe I'll walk that back too. Maybe it hasn't been smoothly, but you've gotten results and you've gotten traction.
Yeah. So definitely, like Wendy mentioned, it's about collaboration. So we have figured out and looked for the right partner, the local partner who are actually executing the project there. So they're building schools. Then it's also about the government support that we're getting. So we're bringing government on board. So, for example, if you're building a infrastructure in one government school, then the teachers, the salaries for the teachers, and everything are provided by government. So this will also come on board. Mm-hmm. So it's mostly about bringing all the stakeholders in a single place and working for a cause. I think that's going perfectly for us now. And second thing that what we've done in 1 year is we build that SOP right. So now we know
SOP.
Standard operating procedure for finding the school. What's the school that we'll be building? What are the kind of school that we're looking for? And what's the first step? Now, what are the indicators for the partners that we're looking for? We have everything in place right now.
So you created systems around what you're doing to check if you were keeping things in priority.
True.
I think that's so true for most startups, but you really bear down on that, and that's the second of two things that you found was working.
Yeah. And so now, for example, there are like so many schools that are destroyed by 2015 earthquake, and it's almost 9,000 schools were destroyed.
Wow.
And even last year we had in November, exactly a year back, we had earthquake in Western Nepal. So 900 schools, almost 900 schools were destroyed. 300 schools were 100% completely destroyed, and 600 were partially destroyed. And we visited some schools this May, Wendy, and we went in the Western Nepal to see those schools. And it was all cracked. I mean, the walls were all cracked, and students were studying inside that building. So if there's a, let's say, slight earthquake, then probably it's very unsafe, but still they don't have any option, because during monsoon it rains heavily in Nepal, so they'll have to be inside the under the roof. So it's very unsafe, and we wanted to rebuild that school. So now when we have so many requests coming on, so we know which school to prioritize based on our SOP.
So just for our audience, so they're tracking, I mean, we're talking about you building a series of schools from the ground up, but on top of that, you're repairing schools. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Wow.
I got a question, and I don't want you guys to get into a fundraising conversation necessarily, but historically, so far, where is funding coming from primarily? Where are you guys getting the money to do the work that you're doing?
That's a good question, and actually varies through multiple sources. So we have our donors that consistently support us. So these donors might be like philanthropists, they might be like angel investors that also want to do some philanthropic work. So they're usually high net worth individuals, right, that really believe in our cause and want to see the impact and want to leave a legacy behind in this world. That's number one. Then we also have our monthly donors that donate every single month because they want to sponsor a student, they want to sponsor a specific project, and they believe in the cause that we're doing. And that can be anywhere from like $25 up to $100 or more. Mm-hmm. And then we also have our events that we throw about 3 to 4 a year. So we fundraise in Seattle, Los Angeles, Silicon Valley, and San Francisco. And then the last part is we do get grants from corporations and tech companies and then larger foundations.
And so it's both sides, right? In Nepal as well as here in the States, you're getting support. I mean, you're saying that government would provide resources in order to execute on this, and you were saying that you had the earthquake and you have the relationships, and of course, amazing donors sound like. What else has gone into keeping this project going and hopefully well into the future?
It's mostly like when you see people in need, then like all of us, like there are so many schools in need. Mm-hmm. And when you see these kids not being deprived of education, mm-hmm. so almost 2/3 of students who are enrolled in class 1 doesn't complete grade 12. So they don't have access to education because in their village they have the schools that are just till grade 5. Yeah. So after that they'll have to leave their village, or they'll have to walk at least 2 to 3 hours just to get to school, and then there's a huge dropout. And then and then you see those stories, and then and then I think that has given us a sense of purpose, and then always motivated us and inspired us to work more. And I think it's not going to stop because there are so many schools in need, and we'll definitely go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's perfect time to kind of, and it may be too soon, but you talked about that school that was at the top of the hill that you went and saw when you first had the conversation with Wendy. What has been the economic impact of that school being built, providing infrastructure? Let's use that school. If it's too early, maybe not. I don't know. It may not be the best use case, but how has the building of that school impacted that region?
One, even though it's something that we noticed was so interesting because we set up a playground right beside the school building, mm-hmm. and school starts at 10 a.m., but the children, all the kids were already there in the school at 7, 8 a.m. in the morning just for the playground, because they've never seen the playground and those infrastructure in their village as of today. So the school going, I mean, their kids were really motivated to go to school. So we could already see a very small change that we could see. And they didn't have desks and benches. When I went for the first time in that building, everyone was studying on the floor. But now that we have desks and benches, and we talked with few students, and they were really motivated to go to school. And when we even have few videos on our Instagram where we've asked, what do you want to be in future? And they've started dreaming big now. And the roads and everything that connects to the highway. So it's going to be definitely in coming future. I'm sure the students there who studied there right now, they're just like class 1, 2, 3, I think till grade 4. Yeah. When they reach higher education, they'll definitely achieve something, and that's when I think we'll feel more fulfilling.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, having been to countries like Nepal, I mean, I've been to Nepal and other countries, and especially in the maybe more rural areas where there's even less affluence. One of the things that I know is happening now, and that I'm sure you can even document, is hope. The idea that there's a future now available to them through education that they can attain by going to school and having a school to go to and having a program of education that enables them to see a future that's brighter than if they were not at school.
I can also share a little bit about the first village. So that's when we really we're already seeing significant impact in the fourth school, right? And even when we finished, we spoke to some mothers, and they were saying that they had never gone to school themselves, but they wanted a different future for their kids. But talking about the first school, like that, when I really realized, like, okay, we're doing something that is really transforming lives, and we need to scale this. So it's essentially, when I first got to the village, I mean, it was a slum village. It was on a squatter land that was owned by the government. At that time, I didn't understand any of this stuff. I just knew that these people needed help. They came down from the mountains after the earthquake. They were staying in like these essentially slum areas. And they were building these tents, or they had like homes made out of, like stones stacked on top of one another with sheet metal. And so people were dying. I saw people dead in the streets almost every single day. They didn't have access to clean water. They had food insecurity. The kids were like barefoot running around in the streets. And at the time it was monsoon season, so the roads were really flooded, and it wasn't even sanitary, right? So there were all these different challenges. And in the beginning, we funded everything. I'll be honest, like I wasn't afraid of making mistakes, because at the time I didn't think that I would start a nonprofit. I was just fundraising and funding things. So I funded everything from like schools to books to shoes to refrigerators to motorbikes. And essentially what I saw after we funded the school, water system, energy, roads, was that this entire community had transformed before my eyes. The kids could speak English to me. They wore school uniforms. They could tell me what their dreams were, what they wanted to become when they grew up. We have our very first university student, Rebecca BK, who graduated from university and now works as a pharmacist, right? The very first person in her entire family history to have ever completed education, and now has changed the life of her entire family's future. When we put in the water system, it lowered the death rate by 90%. So there were about 4 to 5 deaths that I was experiencing every single month, right, in this village. And I didn't know the reasons why, but one of the directors of the schools told me that, like, hey, we just need to have a water system here. So we built out a pipe system underground connected to the main pipe. And literally we get like maybe 1 death per year now after the water system. Then we partnered with the government to then rebuild the roads. And we also hosted like a woman empowerment conference that taught entrepreneurship skills to the mothers. So when we built the roads, that actually drove traffic from outside into the community. And then after the entrepreneurship skills, the woman learned to like start small businesses in their homes, whether it be like a tea shop or just selling fruits and vegetables from their private gardens, right? or, doing tailoring services. And so it drove up the economy. And I saw that this entire community transformed before my eyes. And that's when I had this wake up call. I was like, we were driving here and I was telling Santos about my epiphany moment. I was trying to, we finished this village and I was trying to summit this peak. And I was about to get married to my boyfriend at the time in Spain. Long story, Spanish boyfriend. And after seeing how this community had transformed, it hit me that I was like, no, I can't get married. I have to move back to the US. I have to grow this organization. There's still so many more communities that need help in Nepal. Yeah.
Wow. I'm blown away by all of that you just shared.
You just blew my mind.
Multiple times, Brian. You're absolutely right. You have on your wrist, Fearless.
Yeah.
You had to go into this absolutely fearless because you had no background in this. You had to learn it as you went. What were did I say that right? As you went, as you were.
I think that was right. You hit it.
Okay. So you had to learn as you go. What were some of the early stage success and struggles that validated you continuing to move forward? Because what you just shared, there were so many moving parts.
Yes. I wasn't afraid to make mistakes because it was just a passion project at the time. There wasn't I need to create this organization. It's going to become a startup. There was no necessarily goals. It was so essentially how it happened was the earthquake hit Nepal, damaged 9,000 schools. The reason why a lot of these schools fell apart so easily is because they weren't earthquake resistant. They were built with stones stacked on top of one another with mud plaster. So coming into the country, I just kind of did what was the next right step. And after my volunteer time, we had the director of the school basically ask me to help him rebuild the wall, which would cost $2,000. And I was like, no, I can't. I'm just a traveler. I'm about to go to Spain next, or I'm going to go to Thailand next and teach English there. I can't help you. I don't have any money, right? I'm very young at that age. But then he continued to message me for 6 months, almost every single day. And it came to a point where I was like, okay, I just need to do something. And if it just costs $2,000, then why not? It's not going to be that hard to fundraise $2,000. So I started off with that very first step, not being afraid to make mistakes and do things the wrong way, which I don't know if that's to my strength now. I have to be a little bit more, I have to be a little bit more mindful, but I made a lot of mistakes in the very beginning and I was terrified of everything, but I just did it anyways. It's still kind of how I operate to this day. And I think that's helped me to just kind of, learn what works and what doesn't.
Well, it keeps you, you're kind of tapping into something I love. It keeps you creative. When you're playing messy, I often say to guests and my friends, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And so let's do this messy. And when I allow myself to be more messy, I'm more creative. And when there are sticking points or things to be solved, you have access to that creativity. And it sounds like that's essentially what you did. You threw yourself into it. You knew it was going to be messy. You knew something had to be done. You had that passion. And one thing after another just kind of unfolded. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of the times it's not that I'm fearless because I am scared. I get nervous even to do these podcasts, right? I just don't show it very easily. And I was telling Santos earlier, I'm like, when I'm nervous, I talk. so that kind of just helps, right? I just go into it, I'm scared to meet that next big donor. I'm scared to invite this person to the gala. I'm scared to ask for money. I'm scared to ask Santos to please help me and join my team. I'm scared to even ask you, Brian, can we be featured on your podcast? But I'm just okay, I feel the fear. Let's just dive right in. Let's just do it anyways.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit with our remaining time about what's next. And I also want to talk a little bit about the gala. Again, depending on when this show airs, it could be before, it could be after. But I want to talk about, because it's going to be a yearly thing. What is your motivation? Clearly it's fundraising, but what else are you trying to accomplish by these galas and these events moving forward?
That's a really good question. So this year was really special for me because I was determined to bring Santos from Nepal to this gala. It really meant a lot for me to have our donors also meet our top talent on the ground, the one who's like leading the projects. And Santosh has a lot to offer, right? So what I kind of envision like moving forward is I want to provide Nepal more of a platform. Like every time I come here and I'm fundraising, people are like, where's Nepal? You know, like what country is this? And they mix it up with Tibet, right? And I'm like, no, Nepal is like the country where Mount Everest is. It's the country where Buddha was born. So I wanted to highlight Nepal in a more positive note, because a lot of the times when we are fundraising for Nepal, we're only talking about the poverty and the challenges that it's like suffering through. But as you can see, like Santosh is, you know, like a great representative of the Kathmandu community, because there's an entrepreneurship community there. There's a startup community there. There's great resources that Nepal has that can offer to the world, right? There's great culture that Nepal, that anyone can learn from Nepal. So the gala is Deepavali, which is a celebration of Nepal. It's the festival of light over darkness. I think he can talk about it a little bit more, but I wanted to build a presence of Nepal in Silicon Valley, and not just like share the culture of the country, but also bring over entrepreneurs from Nepal that can get to learn from Silicon Valley, bring in, you know, donors and philanthropists to Nepal to see the value that Nepal has to offer to the world through its startups and entrepreneurship as well.
So Santosh, do you want to kind of tap in on that? Like what's next? What's kind of the purpose of these events, the gala? Pick up from there where Wendy left off. What's next?
It's definitely like, because I've also been traveling. When I travel to different part of the world, it's very difficult for me to say where exactly is Nepal. So that's something that I find very difficult to answer question, because they don't know in the global map. We are a very small country, and it's very difficult for us to position ourselves. But like event like this, the event like charity gala, this is not just raising funds, but also creating awareness about the Nepal, our culture, our history, and how rich history and everything that we have in the Nepal. And for me personally, it's this event, the charity gala, is like how things are happening in the US. I'm getting to witness this firsthand. So I think this is definitely a good learning for me personally. But in the future, like we are building more schools, because there are so many schools in pipeline already that has been they have asked request for help with us. So we're screening the schools right now, and 6th and 7th school right now, we've already finalized the schools, and we're raising funds for those schools right now.
I love how you position that, because what you could have easily done and just said, this is where we need help. We're at complete loss here. But you started with, this is what we're doing well, and we have an individual here who represents what's going well with entrepreneurship, what the resources are there. You like it. You would like, Brian, good one. Yeah, thanks.
Excuse me.
I'd call that out. So
It's good luck.
it is good luck. Thank you. So there's a lot of things going on that you're looking to kind of tap into the startup ecosystem, into the rest of the world. However, there's this other part that you're essentially saying to the world, hey, we need help here. Yeah. And you've found a path that could get results in order to help others scale up. Yeah. Am I summarizing that right?
Yeah. I think, like, for me, it's really important to bridge communities. Like, I'm all about community. I love my community, you know, here in Silicon Valley, San Francisco. Like, community is everything for me. I will give everything to my community, you know, and I feel the same way about my community in Nepal. Like, I would give anything to my community in Nepal. So how can we bridge these economies together and support one another in becoming, you know, abundant and actually sustainable and avoid poverty, right? And I think it's two parts. It's like philanthropic projects, but in general, to alleviate poverty, it's economic development, right? So what goes into economic development? It's actually driving businesses, driving entrepreneurship, in addition to philanthropic projects such as education in schools, you know.
I love that. Anything to add to that, Santosh?
So Wendy and I have been having this conversation for, I think, from last week itself. What's something that we can take from Silicon Valley, not just the philanthropy or the charity work, like the investment, the real investment or for the economic growth. And we've been discussing, meeting people, talking to different people about if we can actually grow economically in Nepal, then things will change. So we even from building education, Wendy and I am actually working on that part as well. So we're excited about meeting new people in Silicon Valley and talk about Nepal and potential of Nepal.
I'm gonna risk this. Anyone you want to meet? Is there anyone top of mind?
Oh.
Yeah, who can we? Let's just trot it out there.
Yeah,
and see
let's
what
throw it
happens.
out there. Yeah.
Who would you
Let's
want
grant
to meet?
your wishes.
I'm going to throw it out there. I'd like to meet Steph Curry. Yeah, I think that we should get Steph on board. This is a call out right now to Steph to get on board for your organization and Silicon Valley Impact. I'm just throwing it out there, Brian. You
I
said
love it. Yeah, and he's got a big heart for things like that. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're looking to build community here. What would be a win for you coming in here in terms of scaling that community and those connections?
Definitely, because right now I was always based in Nepal and I've seen the startup scene in Nepal. But coming here, it's like what I feel is like I was just attending one of the summit today, and then going to those summit, I'll get inspired. Like what can I do for the startup ecosystem in Nepal itself now?
Yeah.
So
and you're talking about plug and play.
yeah, plug and play.
Yeah.
So
We could drop that. I like that.
So-
I like plug and play
So
too.
I was there in plug and play. I was seeing what are they doing best here, so I can get inspired, do something back in Nepal. So I think those are the learning that I'm taking back.
Yeah.
And along with the learning, I'll be taking few of the connections that I can breach, so that later on, if Nepali startups are looking for funding, mentors, or any kind of they want to expand outside of Nepal or come to Silicon Valley, maybe some of my connections, some of this learning or any network that we're building right now will work.
I love it. Well, you may be looking for inspiration, but you've definitely inspired me. How can people connect with you, Santosh?
I'm on all the social media. My name is Santosh Pandey, SANTOSH on LinkedIn. So you can connect on me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Wendy, I want to thank you for being on the show. How can people connect with you and connect with your cause?
Absolutely. So the website is bebuildingeducation.org. That's the website. You can find us also on Instagram, which is at Building Education. You can find us on TikTok at Building Education. Same thing with LinkedIn. And then for my personal, it's Wendy Shew, WENDYSHEW. On LinkedIn, on Instagram, it's it's Wendy Shew.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you both for being here. Love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Brian, I think we have zero at the clock, and I want to thank you for running a great ship.
Brian, I also want to thank you. You're an amazing person. You got amazing people coming on this show. You guys, Wendy, Santosh, I just am totally impressed and really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you all soon. Have a good week.